Now, I was playing this Diablo 4 season with the Dust Devil Whirl Barbarian, and it's been absolutely spectacular. But now I've actually got it all the way up to 100. I've actually got some crazy, godly uniques. These are things you're going to want to strive for, because at least one of these, this particular armor, is insanely powerful on this build. And I feel like I have it pretty good min-maxed to where you can clear everything, clear all the mobs and stuff insanely fast, and it does pretty good on bosses. Now, it's not the absolute best boss clear in the game, but I feel like actually everyone's playing this build a little bit wrong. So make sure you stick around and see how I got the strat of actually taking on the bosses in this game. So I know how the Diablo 4 people are. You don't want to see me go over every single thing here and actually talk about it and explain it. You just want to click the link at the top of the description, go over to the website, and look at the piece by piece and just show you exactly where to put each and every point. So if you're one of those people, the link's right there, but there are some things I want to explain to you so this build actually works exactly the way that it kind of should. So first of all, as we're taking a look at the gear, if you go down on that build guide or whatever it is, make sure when you do temper these, Dust Devil damage, you want to have Dust Devil damage here. You want to have Dust Devil damage here, and here, and here. This is where almost all of your damage is coming from. It has to be that way when you temper these if you want to get the most damage out of it. Now, between the two-handed, I have close damage, and I have close damage, and I just have regular damage on these two. You can do whichever one you want to there. It is also important to get some resource cost reduction and different cooldown reduction. See right here, I tempered for a war cry cooldown reduction. Here, a challenging shout cooldown reduction. Getting cooldown reduction in some different places is going to be crucial. But actually, one of the things that is key to taking out bosses is actually this unique right here, and it's not incredibly rare. Whirlwind explodes every 2 seconds and after it ends. So this is going to be crucially important, as I explained to you later. When you see me take on bosses, it explodes for this damage every time that it ends. On top of that, Tyrell's Might up here. When you're at full health, your skills unleash the Divine Barrage. Boom. So, and this happens as soon as you cast every single time. So it's another thing when you're whirlwinding around, it will shoot about once per second, but every time you start or stop, it shoots that barrage out every single time. On top of that, every time you attack, it casts whirlwind. But if you're whirlwinding around all the time, it just throws one out like once every second or so. So you actually want to spam whirlwind, not constantly channel it. Now you can go ahead and look at each individual of the aspects I have on here at the build guide down in the description, that link right there. But pretty much what I did is I put the gems over here in order to make up resistances I didn't have, and to make up a little bit of armor so I can get to the cap, which is 9,230. I think I just looked it up and was a number. So wherever you can get that to make up here, or you can go ahead and temper the resistances onto some of them. This up here has shadow res. This right here, I tempered cold res on it actually just to get that one capped out. But depending on what gear you got, you can decide what you really want to do for those tempering and for the gems. But just in general, we got life over here, and we've got the emeralds down here for critical strike damage. And you look at the attack power, almost 40k. We got the cap on that and 30k on the life cap on the armor. The resistances are almost all capped out. Actually, Shadow, the way my gear is, was just ever so under. Perhaps you can go ahead and cap that out. And you notice they're up to 76 here because we have 16.2 resist to all. We got 12 damage reduction over here, but 6 to maximum resist all here on Tyrell's Might. This is an uber unique that's new for this season, I believe. This thing is amazing on this build. It's absolutely crazy. You're going to crack up when you see me do a Hell Tide in a second. Now, just super quick for the skill tree, we don't even use this. You just need the points to get down to Whirlwind. We use Rallying Cry, Iron Skin, and Challenging Shout. And we also use War Cry. You can see them, all four of those across right here down at the bottom, the skills we use. You can see the different passives. You can look at that on the build guide or whatever. We don't need to talk about that too much. We also use a Wrath of Berserker, and that actually we have on our left click. So we actually have all these different shouts and just Whirlwind. You don't need a generator if you set it up the way I have it. And then increase Berserking maximum duration. So we got that right here as well, helping out with the Berserker that we get from here and a lot of the other stuff in the skill tree or over in the Paragon board. Now, once again, not going over everything in the Paragon board, but down here, this is what I see as anyways the best spot to put the Twister glyph. And then you go ahead and pump up the strength point as high as you can, 554% enhanced Dust Devil damage. Up here, we went with the Decimator node. Right here, we get to that particular one on this board, and we go ahead and plug in Exploit. It still works pretty good, even though Vulnerable is not as broken as it was in the first build, first seasons or whatever. So we put that there. We come over, we put on the Warbringer. We get to that one because the Fury spent, you gain 15 Fortify for your max life is Fortify right there. And we put on the Seething Glyph. So while wielding a sword, you gain 5 Fury when you kill an enemy. You're obviously killing tons of enemies. And in this one, I'm always using the sword. You could switch this up depending on what weapons you want to go ahead and use. I see a lot of people going with using dual wields, and then they have different glyphs in a little bit different way. But if you want to go the sword route, the way I did here, two-handed sword, this one is great right there. As we come over to the side now, we actually have on the Blood Rage. So bleeding enemy has 10% chance to grant you berserking for 5 seconds, and Whirlwind actually applies some bleeding damage to every monster. So that's all the time. Down here, we have the Disembowel one. Killing a bleeding enemy has a 10% chance to reduce the cooldown of your non-ultimate active cooldowns by 1 second. Once again, that's all the time. So as you're killing monsters, bloop, 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 those cooldowns are going away, so you can just use those shouts once again. Now up over here, we actually have the Carnage one, but this is just a placeholder board so that we can put on another glyph right here for Wrath. So the skills that critically strike generate 3 Fury, and you're kind of doing that all the time because of the dexterity. You have increased critical strike damage. That's always crucial. I will always clutch right there. But now for what you really want to see, let's see the sucker in action. And the funniest part, let's go out to Helltide first and go to where one of the flying bat ladies at Harbinger, Hell, whatever they're called. Let's go out there and watch how this works. So this is where this is almost comical. We're going to go ahead and drop this right here. You know what this area is, right? And yeah, we don't even have to leave the circle here. All you do is spam click your Whirlwind as fast as you can. And with the Tyrell's Might, when you're at full health, it shoots these things out. I didn't even take one of those potions. Usually it shoots these out whenever you kill a monster. But with Tyrell's Might, every time you attack at full health, it shoots these out everywhere. Well, I'm always at full health because nothing even gets close to me. You can see these cinders just piling up all in circles around this because I'm melting everything instantaneously. Other people, they kind of can't even get close enough to the monsters to even attack them. So I'm going to do this, and in a second I'm going to run around and pick up all these cinders, and it's over. Just do this the entire time until the Lady Witch pops up, that is. And there she is, and I'm not even going to lie. My build, this isn't particularly as good of a boss killer as I'm not even sure who here is just doing absolute wreckage. She is quite a bit slower if I'm doing all the damage myself. I'm going to be honest, it probably takes, well, let's be honest, about 3 times longer than this. But if you notice, I'm still just spamming over and over and over again. I'm not constantly channeling. Look how slow those things shoot out like this. On top of that, there's that explosion from the gloves that only happens about once every second, but it explodes with that fire damage. Once, you know, it's every time that Whirlwind stops like working, it explodes again. So the faster you spam it, the more times that explodes, the more times that those pylons or whatever they're called shoot out, the holy bolt things or whatever. So you just keep spamming Whirlwind over and over as fast as you can. That's kind of the strategy that I see. I'll show you on a Nightmare Dungeon too, and on part of the pit, so you can get a better idea of exactly how much of the kill speed is coming from specifically my character. I already know I have this dungeon right here in 84. We'll go ahead and hop down into this one, and you'll see how good this takes care of business down in kind of a higher level Nightmare Dungeon. Yeah, now this, once again, in general, is pretty easy. Use Whirlwind a couple times, and I mean, it chops everything down that you touch, really. Come in here, I guess we'll use some of the shouts this time, and they're gone. So it's just kind of that easy. It's a really simple build, and it kind of blasts everything once you have this level up here. We'll use the Berserking one this time, I guess. Sure, why not? All the shouts are back off cooldown already. Come into the champions, we'll go ahead and I use the shouts too as damage, because if you see, we'll hit that shout and Whirlwinds come right up out of there too and kill plenty of stuff. You see, once again, I'm not channeling it for a long time. What I'm doing is I'm kind of like spamming. That way you get a ton of those bolts shoot now. You get a ton of explosions. We'll go ahead and pick the channeling thing, whatever, just so we don't run out. But yeah, so you don't just go like this through the whole time. Now this will work, but you notice that not everything behind you is dying, and you kind of got to go back. You're gonna have to come over them again. It doesn't work, in my opinion, quite as good, especially once you get to the bosses. Now you could spin to win the entire time like this if you want to, but you actually end up traveling around much slower than you do if you're actually running, you know? So when you're actually running, you move a little bit faster. And you come in here, shout it up. Boom, 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 boom. Get these shouts because we got the cooldown reduction, and move on. So it really is that simple. I mean, if there's anything to note left in the run, I guess I'll show you. But really, why don't we just move on to the boss? Because that's going to be the most interesting thing. Because it's really like light work through the normal monsters like this. The boss is where ever so slightly you can have a quote-unquote issue, but I'll kind of show you a little bit of tactic, a little bit of technique in it, and you'll be a-okay. But yeah, clearing trash mobs, it's no problem. And welcome back again, and we're going after the boss here, so we'll shoot out the berserking, we'll hit our couple of shouts here, and see, what I'm doing is spamming, once again, spam, 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 on the whirlwind. Then it shoots out a million of those things, and you see, I know there's definitely builds that are a little bit faster than this, I understand, but, I mean, you got the survivability on your side, you do have the massive, massive clearing speed that you do have for the regular ones. You can go ahead and jump out of that. I prefer just to go ahead and not just sit there and face tank that certain particular explosions, but so this is it, fellas. Spam, spam, spam. You see several 400, 500,000 hits there, so it's not the 10 million type of hits you see on some other ones, but still very reasonable. Speed is not insane. When we get into the pits, that's where the time sensitivity can be a little bit more of a thing there. Ooh, boy. Actually took a little bit of hit there. Go ahead and pop our iron skin, and then you're a-okay, fine to just go ahead and hit a little bit more. Down they go. Really, if you pay attention, your life doesn't even get that close. I did take a little bit of a hit there. Now we'll hop into the pit. I know some people want to see that. I'm only up to tier 46, and these pit things, they're like the greater risk from Diablo 3. They're really incredibly boring, and you know, I'm just doing this stuff over and over again with no point. Doesn't really have a point for me, but I know people want to see it. Unfortunately, I'm not up to like tier 100 or whatever, but we'll take a look at this tier 46, which is as high as I am. Generally, never have a problem. I'm usually done within a few minutes. The whole thing's cleared. I'm out, ready to do the next one, I guess, but go ahead and take a look. So we'll start off running, and we'll get to some of these. Let's go ahead and throw a berserker out there. So it's pretty much the same exact thing as that last dungeon, except for the stuff in here dies almost easier, I guess. So just super easy. Once again, I'm just spamming it to shoot those pylon things, or whatever they're called, the things from the Tyrael's Might everywhere. You want it to shoot as much as possible, and you want to shoot as many. Oh, there we go. Got locked up a little bit. Let's go ahead and use some of this stuff so we don't die. Got caught with my pants down there a little bit. I had my cooldowns all up and running right there, or whatever. They were all counting down, so. All right, move on from that. Spam, spam, spam. Spam, spam, spam. Get rid of the guy with his shield so I can hit everything else. And you see quite a bit. We're about a minute in here, and we're about a third of the way up on the list. So we just keep hitting our shouts as needed, or as wanted. I kind of just spam them, to be honest. I kind of have to pay attention. And we'll just go ahead and, I don't know, we'll keep this up, I guess, here for just a quick second. So you get a full glimpse of what it is. We'll hit these ones. We'll get our berserker going. That'll make things go even a little bit faster there. Really, because these pits, they don't take very long. It's really quite easy, I'm going to be perfectly honest. So it's just how fast can you spam the buttons and run around, essentially. Oh, didn't know these champions were behind me. Snuck off on me, little buggers. But yeah, we'll just go ahead and jump to the champion once again so you can see that. It'll just be another minute. Well, there are about a minute later, and we have everything on cooldown, but hey, we'll just YOLO in, whatever. So here we are, just spam, 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 and obviously, since I don't have any of my shouts at the moment, it's going even slower than what I said before. But yeah, this just isn't really, you know, a mega fast boss killer, but it does perfectly fine. You can see just spamming it, boom, 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 boom. The health just drip, 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 drip down. Keep your shouts up, and you'll be okay. And there you go, Pit, what were these? He was like level 145 or something like that, so hits are really no problem for this build either. Now you can absolutely rock this build out without the uniques too, and it can do really dang good. So don't think you have to have this uber unique to go ahead and even have the build online. It wrecks even without it. So hey, if you do try this build, let me know down in the comments. Peace out, fellas, and I'll catch you in the next video.